The man no one saw coming. If anyone had told CEO Victoria Hale that the man who would one day make her knees go weak, the man whose name would change her future, was the same shabby, exhausted single dad waiter she had mocked just hours earlier, she would have laughed them out of her corner office. But that was before the moment her assistant whispered in her ear, "That's him, ma'am." A moment so shocking, so world-shattering, that it would reroute the trajectory of everything she thought she knew about power, success, and the people she believed she was better than. But we'll get there. For now, let's go back to the night when Victoria walked into Lenox Grill in downtown Chicago, unknowingly stepping into the beginning of her own unraveling. But first, before the truth hits like a train, go ahead and like this video and subscribe to the Kindness Chronicles so we can keep bringing you stories that remind the world what really matters. The rain was falling sideways that night, the kind of storm that slashed at windows and sent businessmen sprinting for cover with newspapers over their heads. Inside the restaurant, a low buzz of conversation, clinking glasses, and jazz guitar floated through the air. The lighting was warm, inviting, yet none of it softened the tension boiling beneath Victoria Hale's perfectly tailored exterior. She was furious. Her board meeting had ended in a near mutiny. Her biggest investors were pulling out. Her company's valuation had dropped almost 8% in a week. All her carefully constructed control, all her ironclad dominance, was slipping. She needed a win. Tonight. Immediately. Which was why she walked into Lenox Grill like a storm within a storm, heels sharp, posture rigid, and eyes lined with fire. That's when she saw him. The waiter. Tall, but slouched a bit, as if carrying invisible weight on his shoulders. Apron slightly crooked. Hands trembling just slightly as he balanced a tray of drinks. Hair messily tied back like he'd rushed out of his house without looking in the mirror. Stubble darkening his jaw. A smudge of what looked like dry pancake batter on his sleeve. And worst of all, he looked tired. Not the kind of tired you could fix with sleep. The kind of tired carved into a person's bones. Her lip curled. She hated people who looked like they'd given up. "Excuse me," she snapped as he passed, "is your restaurant allowed to hire anyone, or do they have some sort of aesthetic standard?" He blinked, slow, like her voice had cut through a fog he couldn't fully escape. Sorry, ma'am. I can help you at your table in a minute." "You can start by helping yourself," she scoffed. "Fix your uniform. And your face. You're serving customers, not begging on a street corner." A few diners turned. A couple winced. But the waiter, his name tag read Daniel, just nodded. Not angrily. Not defensively. Almost apologetically. "Of course," he murmured. "My sincere apologies." He moved away, adjusting his apron. And if Victoria had looked closely, actually looked, she might have seen the exhaustion behind his eyes. She might have seen the fear. The sadness. The bruised knuckles. She might have noticed the small children's drawings peeking out of his back pocket, crayon pictures, folded neatly, covered in hearts and stick-figure smiles. But she didn't. People like Victoria rarely noticed anything that didn't serve them. The night spiraled. Daniel returned several times, each interaction more strained, more tense, more tinged with her cutting remarks. "You forgot the lemon. Do you know how to do your job? This steak is overcooked. Did you let it sit while chatting with your broke little friends? You look distracted. Or is that just your natural state?" Every word, every insult, was a shard of glass. Yet Daniel never raised his voice. Never snapped. Never retaliated. He simply apologized. Fixed what he could. And carried on. Later, in the back hallway near the restrooms, Victoria overheard something tiny, but cutting. Daniel was on the phone. "No, sweetheart, Daddy's not home yet," he whispered, voice trembling softly. I know you want me to read your bedtime story. I know. We'll do extra tomorrow, okay? Yes, I promise. Pinky promise. A long pause. I love you too, Lily. Another pause. Yes, I know you're worried about the rent. Daddy is too. But it's going to be okay. Victoria stiffened. She should have felt something. Empathy. Guilt. Even basic human discomfort. But she felt annoyed. He shouldn't be taking personal calls during work, she muttered, and strode back to her table. By the time she left, Daniel looked drained, like a hollowed-out version of the man she'd first seen. And when she walked past him, she offered one final dagger. Some people aren't cut out for real jobs. This, she gestured at his apron, seems more your speed. Daniel didn't respond. He only lowered his head. But the manager saw. The diners saw. And someone else saw too. Her assistant, Mia. Quiet, observant Mia. Who said nothing. Not then. Not yet. When Victoria slid into her waiting town car and the door closed behind her, she released a breath of icy satisfaction. She had taken back some control tonight. She had reminded someone of their place. She had reasserted dominance over a world slipping from her grip. She thought the night was over. She thought she was done with the shabby single-dad waiter. She thought she'd never see him again. She was wrong. Very, very wrong. Because the next morning, everything, her life, her career, her pride, would collide with one earth-shattering revelation. And when her assistant whispered, "That's him, ma'am," even Victoria Hale, unshakable, unstoppable, untouchable, would freeze. The man behind the name. The next morning began with chaos. Her office was buzzing. Phones ringing. Staff pacing. Urgent emails flying like bullets. Victoria stepped out of the elevator, heels clacking loudly against the marble floor. Mia rushed up, clutching a folder. "Ma'am, you're 9 o'clock. He arrived early." Good. For once someone respects time. This is the potential angel investor, right? Mia's jaw tightened a little. Almost imperceptibly. Correct. Victoria strode down the hall, adjusting her blazer, smoothing her hair. Today was important. This mystery investor had reached out personally, through private channels, and expressed interest in rescuing her company from financial free fall. She didn't know his name. He had only signed emails as D. Matthews. Whoever he was, he had money. Power. Influence. And she needed him to buy in. They entered the boardroom. Sunlight poured through the floor-to-ceiling windows. The city sparkled below. And there, standing with his back to them, hands in the pockets of a clean, pressed suit, was the investor. He turned. And Victoria's stomach plummeted through the floor. It was him. The waiter. Clean-shaven. Hair neatly cut. Suit perfectly tailored. Eyes clear, sharp, piercing. A man transformed. But unmistakably. Undeniably. Daniel. Her heartbeat exploded. Her throat dried. Her vision flickered. She looked at Mia, desperate, frantic. And Mia leaned close, whispering the words that would haunt Victoria forever. "That's him, ma'am." She couldn't speak. Couldn't breathe. The man she had belittled. Mocked. Humiliated. The man she'd called a failure. The man she'd joked belonged on the streets. That man was Daniel Matthews. Not just an investor. But the Daniel Matthews, the elusive tech genius who had sold his startup for $220 million 2 years earlier and vanished from the public eye. A single dad. A brilliant entrepreneur. A man rebuilding his life quietly, away from headlines, working odd jobs to stay grounded.